I'm joined by Stephen Howson, Manchester United 3, Sheriff 0. Just give me your overall thoughts on that game.
I thought it was going to be as frustrating as it was, or as it started, I think it's fair to say. I didn't think they'd throw a back six in. That was a bit different, I guess. But it was pretty effective for them. You know, it stopped us having any sort of penetration in the wide areas, even though I actually think that we're still not quite as wide as we need to be with the wingers. I think the wingers are almost used to playing inverted a little bit and sort of try and operate in the half space rather than actually on the wing. And if the fullbacks are coming narrow, it's imperative that the wingers are holding that width, because otherwise it just makes it very easy to defend. And when you throw 6 across the back, then yeah, it's obviously easy for them to sit back and defend that. So we did well to create the chances that we did. I was actually thinking at one point, it's going to take a set piece. It's going to take like a free kick, or I mean, it took a corner, I guess, so it did. But I was thinking, it's going to require a set piece, because I wasn't seeing any gaps whatsoever for us to be able to play through. Nice surprise to see Garnacho starting. He's been a bit predictable, I think, Ten Hag, with his starting 11s. But I thought that having Garnacho starting, giving him them minutes, was probably as risk-free as it was going to be, even though it was a tough game for Garnacho to shine in because of how deep and how defensive they were. It was risk-free because it was going to be an attacking game. You wasn't going to see too much of, like, it's not a risk to play him because you're like, oh, what happens if we get overloaded when they get the ball? They were never going to do that. But it was a tough game for him to shine in, and yet he still managed to show a real good account of himself. And even though I don't think I would expect him to be starting week in, week out, I would now expect him to start coming off the bench.
Do you think, especially with Sancho's form not being great, Ronaldo, again, not involved in matches as much as Rashford seemed to be when he's up front, it's almost like, first team is Ronaldo, number 9, and then that left wing spot is kind of up for grabs at the minute. Garnacho has done a decent
he doesn't seem to play
there.
Rashford there either, does he?
No.
He seems to want to play Rashford centrally. So for me, Rashford off the left, it makes so much sense, but there's clearly some sort of reason why that's not happening for anybody. So yeah, I think this is what you have youngsters in the first team squad for. He's been training with the first team all year. We know he was punished for being late in pre-season, and actually that's something that I absolutely adore about Ten Hag. He is so consistent with how he treats players who haven't made a full debut yet and the greatest player of all time. He doesn't give a shit who you are. These are the rules, and I'm the fucking boss, and you got to appreciate that.
Yeah, you have. Let's move on to Ronaldo then, talk about him a bit. Obviously, ended the sort of goal drought, but it was more than just a goal drought. There's the Tottenham stuff, there's this sort of ongoing thing he wanted to leave. Is he good enough? All that stuff. How did you think Ronaldo was tonight? Because did the goal mask a slightly poor performance, or do you think he just needed that to kind of pop the cork almost in terms of how
I don't think it was poor. I don't think it was poor at all. I thought he was getting on the end of stuff. Extremely... I tried to explain this in my own review, and I'm not sure I've quite articulated how I want to say this, but it was a straightforward appearance for him in the fact that he'd probably be able to just stand in their box for most of the game, which is kind of what he did. But it wasn't an easy game for him because of how little space and how clearly double mark. You put 6 at the back, you're going to try and double mark the greatest goal scorer of all time. That's literally what they did. So for him to find the space he did, to get on the header the way he did, and then manage to get the follow-up, I thought was brilliant. And I think that was the sort of game that really suited him. I don't know if that's necessarily true for the average Premier League game. The average Premier League game I expect to be a lot more back and forward, require a lot more from him in a defensive capacity. And these are the question marks that we've got about him and what Erik Ten Hag actually thinks about using him in those circumstances. That's the sort of stuff that we're going to find out. We're going to find that out on Sunday against West Ham. Theoretically, it should be Ronaldo straight back in the mixer. I don't know if it will be.
No, I'm not sure it will be. He doesn't seem to fancy him when there's options on the table, does he? The other option then, like you said, number 9 most games this season is Marcus Rashford. For me, that goal that he scored tonight, with it being a header as well after the miss against Newcastle and this sort of reputation he has about not being good in the air, that goal was almost the one where I was more relieved seeing it than the Ronaldo goal, because Rashford, I think, I was looking before the game, he'd had an XG of 3.5 since he'd last scored for United before today. So he's been missing chance after chance after chance. Him getting that goal is massive for not just him, but sort of United's goal scoring going forward, I think.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure Marcus. That was his 99th goal for United, by the way, that he scored tonight.
Wow.
I'm not sure Marcus is rounded enough to be a number 9. I'm not sure if his lateral runs are there yet. I think his vertical runs in behind, I think they're excellent. I think they're as good as anyone's. But his lateral movement across and into space. Now, no Benny McCarthy's there, and he was pretty good at that. If he can get him moving into those sorts of channels, you might have some sort of an option there. But this isn't a 19-year-old player we're talking about here. This is someone that's played as a 9 as a kid, played off the left, and then been used in a number of positions. And for me, he's a left forward. He's someone that thrives in that left channel, the space that he gets in that left channel. His playmaking, I think, is massively underrated. I think he's got, if I throw your mind back to that Liverpool game in COVID and the playmaking you see from him in the left channel, creating for others, crossing the ball, was it for Greenwood that he crossed it for?
Maybe, yeah.
That, for me, is the best version of Marcus Rashford. He's a threat in behind there. He's a threat when he stops and looks to pass it inside. He can combine with players down that left-hand side. But I don't know if he's got the skill set to play as a number 9. So I don't know if this is some sort of insecurity from him, where he's looked at the fact that we've just signed Anthony for fuck knows how much it's meant to have been, 100 million, allegedly. And then he's seen Sancho be moved over into his position. He's seen the turmoil going on with the number 9 and gone, I play 9. I don't know if it's that, because for me, the best Marcus Rashford is a left winger. And that's where his best work has always come, in that left channel. He can come central, but the best work has been in the left channel. And I think he's doing himself a disservice by trying to play as a number 9 after spending so long playing in that left channel.
Yeah, I think he might struggle, especially if Martial ever gets fit or we buy a new striker. It'll be interesting to see if he then goes, actually, I'm a left winger again. Another thing I wanted to mention is looking forward to next week, obviously, this Sociedad game. Has the group stage so far given you any reason to think we're going to be able to go to Spain and beat Real Sociedad, away? Because they're just horrible games every single time in Spain and Europe, aren't they? For every non-Spanish club. No one has.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, you're right. Listen, La Liga's a tough league, and there's some really good teams at the top end of it, at least. There's some guff at the bottom. But at the top end of it, there's some pretty good teams. And Sociedad, Bilbao, teams like that, they're not fucking Villarreal. They're not easy places. Valencia. No one goes to these, Gary Neville aside, no one goes to these places and racks up a score outside of Barcelona, Real Madrid. Like, you don't see teams going from other countries and doing that to them. They're solid teams. Looking at how United have progressed since that first group game, where did that come in relation to like the Brentford game?
So it's the 8th of September, that game, just after we'd beaten Arsenal 3-1. So, it wasn't the worst time for Man United.
Yeah, but in that Arsenal game, we played on the counter.
Yeah.
That wasn't the sort of style of play that we see in Manchester United, I believe, right now. So I think we've evolved since then. So I hope that they only look at that tape. I mean, they surely won't. Yeah. But I hope that they base all their game planning around that tape. And I don't think we was as bad as we were made out to be. Now, the problem is it was at home. And you got to go away.
Yeah.
But being away might mean that they open up a little bit more. Now, they just don't need to lose this game. That's a horrible place to be. A draw's enough. Doesn't mean you get a draw.
No. Especially if it's 1-1 going into the 85th minute. It's Sociedad backs to the wall. That's when you do see the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo popping up with something.
Listen, Manchester United in this game are going into it with a playoff place in the pocket. And potentially going to steal an automatic place.
Yeah.
So, if it's 1-1, they're definitely going to try and settle for it. Yeah. And United are like, well, fuck it. What have we got to lose it?
It's pretty big, though, I think, because let me just run you through a few of the teams that are likely to finish third in the Champions League that we would then face if we finish second, if you know what I mean. So Ajax is one, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona.
It'd just be Ajax, wouldn't it? You look at that and you went, yeah.
Another one, it could be any of Sporting, Frankfurt or Marseille. You could have AC Milan in there, Shakhtar as well, another one, Sevilla or Juventus. So they're your options if we do get in that knockout thing. They're all pretty horrible, to be honest. So it's a big game, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like you save yourself an extra. Is it an extra 2 games?
Yeah, 2 games.
You get. So fuck that noise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, go for it. You got to win 2-0, right? What happens if it's 1-1? 1-0.
1-0 would put them through on overall goal difference because they've got 9 and we've got 6. 2-1 to United would do it because we would have scored more away goals with an overall aggregate tie between the 2 fixture head-to-heads.
And who's carrying the 1, though? Does the 1 carry?
I think Donny van der Beek carries the 1. I think he brings that with him in his luggage. But yeah, 2-1 would do it. So yeah, it's a big game next week.
So there you go. So, there is no reason for United to not just fucking have it in that game. And that's the best mentality to have in a dressing room. We've got to go and have it. And they're sitting there going, a draw will do. A draw will do. Because you ain't getting a fucking draw.
No. It's going to be a good game.
You play for a draw, you're not going to get one.
No, that'll be a great game.
The other team needs to win. But yeah, brilliant game. And United are banging some tasty games. West Ham not having a good season. When do they ever never turn up against us, though?
No.
It's always a scrap. Then you've got to go there. Who is it the week after?
I'm not sure, actually. I'll have a look now. It is Aston Villa on the Sunday and then Aston Villa on the Thursday in the League Cup. So double Villas after that.
So Villa, then Fulham, and that sees off our essentially this half of the season, and we'll see you in fucking December, 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
Make that 4 wins, you can set yourselves up for a very fucking good season.
You can, definitely. Right, that'll be all.
You can easily do 4 wins. The hardest game there, I think, genuinely, is fucking Villa with Emery.
Yeah, because we've got the double Emery bounce back to back 2 times in a week shit, which is just unheard of. Although actually,
that's definitely 2 11s though. 100% that's 2 11s from United.
Do you think?
Yeah, there's no way that's the same 11. I think he's going to be like, listen, what's the priority? And someone's going to go, not that fucker. And he's going to go, sound. Iqbal, Donny van der Beek, Fred McTominay. That's going to be playing in that fucking game. You probably see Harry Maguire start in that one. Maybe even someone like a Mengi or Tuan Zabi perhaps at centre-half. I think that is a fully... Who are you, lot 11?
Well, we'll see about that. But Man United won 3-0 tonight against Sheriff. Thank you for coming on today. Hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be covering all the build-up to that West Ham game on Sunday. And, of course, that deciding game against Real Sociedad next Thursday as well. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you in a bit.